Hello children, today we're going to learn algebra, the fundamental concepts, and under that the constants and the variables. So let's quickly check out the meaning of constants. So in arithmetic we use numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, so each of which has a fixed value, and these digits and the numbers which are formed by these digits are called as constants. Talking about the variables, so in algebra we use letters of English alphabets like A, B, C, D. So these letters can be assigned any value according to the requirement. So the letters which are used in algebra are called as variables, like A, B, C, say X, Y, Z. Now these are the variables. So these are the constants and these are the variables. So number one, let's check out some of these important the elementary treatment which would be given to these sets of constants and variables. So number one would be a combination of two or more. A combination of two or more than two constants. So let's check this out. A combination of two or more than two constants is always a constant. So you have to remember this elementary treatment. So a combination of two or more than two constants is always a constant. For example, let's take 3. We all know that 3 is a constant. And also let's take another constant which is 8. So if I have to add 3 plus 8, or if I have to multiply 3 into 8, or if I have to subtract 3 from 8, or if I have to divide 8 by 3, still the answers that we get here would be the constants itself. Whether I add these two constants, or whether I multiply them, or whether I subtract them, or whether I divide them, whatever the answer that I get is always a constant. So let's see the combination 2. A combination 2 says the combination of two or more variables is always a variable. Two or more variables is always a variable. So this is your second treatment, the elementary treatment which you have to remember. So let's say, for example, X, Y, Z. So X, Y and Z are the English alphabets, and that's the reason we consider them as variables. And so each of these variables can be expressed as X plus Y minus Z. So look at the combination X plus Y minus Z. Okay, I can say it as I can also write it as X minus YZ. So a combination of two or more variables will always give me a variable. Whether I add these two, or whether I perform multiple fundamental operations on these sets of variables, the answer that I get is always a variable. Let's say if I have to write X divided by Y into Z. Now this also gives me the answer whatever which is given by this also results in a variable. Now let's check the third elementary treatment which is given. So a combination of one or more constants. A combination of one or more constants. Now what happens? So when we combine one or more constants, or one or more variables. So when we combine one or more constants or one or more variable, the answer that we get is also a variable. The answer that we get is also a variable. I'll quickly reiterate that again. If there's a combination of one or more constants or a combination of one or more variables, the answer that we get is still a variable. Here I'll show you some examples of the combination of one or more constants or one or more variables. The examples are 6 plus x. Now the combination of a constant and a variable is a variable. 8x divided by 3y. This again is a variable, which is a combination of a constant and a variable. X minus 8 and 2x minus 3y plus 4z. Now these are all the examples of the combinations of the constants and one or more constants or one or more variables. So even these are called as variables itself. Now let us learn about the term. A term is a number which is a constant number. It can also be a variable, or it can be a combination of the number as well as a variable, so in the form of a product or a quotient of numbers and variables. So it's basically a combination of a number or a variable. It can just be a number, or it can just be a constant. It can just be a variable, or it can be a combination of both. Let's say for example 5 is a constant, but still we consider 5 as a term. 3a, 3 is a constant and a is a variable. Together the combination of a constant and a variable is called as a term. So we call this thing as a term, 3a as a term. Or it can be expressed like this also. It's minus 4xy. Now this is also a term. Or 4x divided by 3y, or 8pq divided by 7a. Now all these could be termed as term. Okay, let's check out the next important concept of algebra, which is the algebraic expression. So here it is an algebraic expression is a collection of one or more terms. We learned about the terms which are separated from each other by addition or subtraction signs. For example, 3xy minus 7. Now this is one expression. A plus 2b, this is an example of another expression. The expression also can take the form of 2x square plus 5xy plus 3, etc. Now there's a catch here which you need to remember. Okay, the catch here is, if I take the expression 3x plus 4y, this expression has two terms. The two terms are 3x is one term, 4y is another term. Likewise, if I take 3x minus 4y, there are two terms again, 3x and 4y. Whereas the multiplication and the division signs do not separate the terms. So I cannot say 3x into 4y and 3x divided by 4y are two separate terms. No, they are just one term. They are considered two terms only if they are separated by plus or minus signs. So in case if they are multiplied or divided, then we cannot say they are two terms. It has to be one term. I think that should be sufficient for today, and in my next video I'd be teaching you about the types of algebraic expressions and the degree of monomial and coefficients and the stuff like that. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my video, please go ahead right away and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget also to like and share, and take very good care of yourselves and keep learning. Bye.